The ANC Veterans League is calling for action against the organisers of the Workers' Day event, where President Cyril Ramaphosa was booed over the weekend. Ramaphosa was scheduled to deliver the keynote address at a Cosatu Workers' Day rally at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium in the northwest. Now, workers there who were protesting during the rally would have been members of the NUM. They are striking mine workers. They've been on strike now for about 8 weeks. They're demanding a salary increase of 1,000 rand a month from Stillwater. The company is only offering 850 rand. Let's talk about what unfolded at the rally. We can speak now to ANC Veterans League leader Snuki Zikalala. Mr. Zikalala, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Daytime Update. I was looking at a report, I think in the Sowetan today, where you were quoted saying what happened on Sunday was a miscalculation, that is, sending President Ramaphosa to the northwest. Explain why that is.
Well, good afternoon, Tembegile, and good afternoon to your viewers. I think the National Union of Mine Workers, which was before the biggest trade union movement in the mining industry in that area, miscalculated by inviting the president. I think they should have done that once the bargaining dispute that they have with Sibanye has been settled. You can't call a president to a rally when workers are not happy, when their demands are not met, when they've been on strike for more than a month without any wages. The whole rally will be a disaster because there's discontent, there's anger, there's frustration, and the union is not moving. It's not making sure that what workers are demanding are being met, and the unions should have done better. And so I think it's miscalculation on the side of NUM and, of course, on the side of Cosatu. And we, as Veterans League, feel that an environmental scan should have been done before the president went there. There should have been discussions, especially with NUM. I assume those discussions did take place, and the leadership of NUM was confident that the president won't be booed. But workers are frustrated. They've been on strike for more than a month. And so without any wage, because it's no work, no pay. And so what do you expect workers do? And at the same time, we do admit as the African National Congress that we have not addressed their socio-economic conditions in those areas. And so there was palpable anger from society in that area. And so it was a miscalculation on the side of NUM and, of course, on our alliance partners like Cosatu. But I think it was not a deliberate act that they did. It's only that the timing was wrong.
But why should the president of the governing party be shielded, I beg your pardon, from the very real frustration of workers who are part of the NUM, part of the broader alliance that ultimately helped him get the position as president?
No, those are bargaining issues. It's a relationship between the employer and the employee. The president can't enter into bargaining because it's only the Department of Labor and Employment that deals with those issues, that makes sure that the parties must sit down and reach an amicable settlement in terms of wages. That's not the role of the president at all. And at the same time, I'm saying that the president does not have any influence in what's happening in the bargaining council. And so is the union, together with the employers, and that they have to reach an agreement, an amicable agreement that will be able to satisfy both parties. And so the president has got nothing to do with that. And so he was just going there to address workers, as this was a workers' day. And we admit that workers are facing a lot of challenges, and their frustrations are there all the time, and we've been unable to address their socio-economic conditions, especially on the ground, because our municipalities have been dysfunctional. The branches of the ANC are not functioning effectively in that area, because branches are supposed to ensure that workers and community needs are being addressed appropriately. That's what branches of the ANC have to do on the ground. And so we admit that we are very weak there. The ANC has not been doing well in that area, and so it's time that we should try and organize workers, revive our branches, make sure that they're functional. And of course, the National Union of Mine Workers and the employers must reach an amicable settlement on the wage dispute.
So the sense from Cosatu when we spoke to them here on Newzroom Afrika on Sunday was that given the frustration among the working class and the poor in this country, people are frustrated, a rising cost of living, even outside of their wages that aren't going up. Economically, the conditions don't exist in a country led by the ANC government for them to flourish and seek other opportunities, even where they're not happy with what they're earning. Cosatu's sense from the leadership was that what happened on Sunday, while they don't endorse it, was somehow inevitable. So if he wasn't booed on Workers' Day, he'd be booed somewhere else.
I totally disagree with that. We know very well the socio-economic conditions of the country. We have been hit by COVID for almost 2 years, and we know that 2 million workers lost their jobs, and 100,000 ordinary South Africans died because of COVID. And it's not us who has been affected by COVID. And the economy is in crisis. It's not us as the African National Congress who made that economy to be in crisis. But to admit that state capture has dented our economy because billions of francs have flown out to Dubai, to loot us. But as you know, the law enforcement agencies are dealing with that. And so our economic policy is sound. It's only that we have been hit hard by COVID. And also seeing that we've been hit hard by COVID, the government of South Africa came up with a relief plan where those who cannot afford, who are earning, I think, less than 3,000 rand per month, they have access to the grant, to a 350 rand grant, so that people can be able to get at least put a little bit of bread on the table. It's not to say it's an ideal situation. It's not an ideal situation, but we've been hard hit by COVID because, as you know, for almost 6 months, the economy was at a standstill. Complete standstill. Nothing was happening. There was no productivity. The economy was not ticking at all. And so who do we blame? Those are natural disasters that we're talking about.
But there is a feeling among many people in the population who feel that the ANC has not done the best in managing the crisis. Added to that, of course, have been the scandals such as the PPE scandals, the scandals around the health minister, Zweli Mkhize, at the time to do with digital vibes, and the broader economic frustration in South Africa. And that is why, even as that booing happened, many other people in South Africa who aren't part of the NUM were saying, well, very well, he deserved it as the country's number one. And they too would do it if they got the opportunity. And I wonder how the ANC, you think, should then win the faith of those people, because there is a broader issue of trust in trade unions and politicians in this country, as acknowledged by the President himself in his newsletter this morning.
Well, we do agree that there's a deficit of trust. With the African National Congress, people are not happy with our performance. We do admit that the economy has not been working well. But at the same time, what could have the ANC done when we have COVID, when all the plants were shut completely? Everything was at a standstill. But at least there was part of the factories were grinding, and the economy was ticking a little bit. It's not our fault. And so coming to the question of COVID, I think the ANC government did exceptionally well, irrespective of the PPE scandals. But those who are involved in PPE scandals, definitely they will definitely face the full might of the law.
But
that is why, Comrade...
Pardon me, Mr. Zikalala, even before the pandemic, this country's economy wasn't doing all that great. When you look at the unemployment rate, it was already hitting record highs. And even many of the people, you say the economy was not ticking during COVID. For many South Africans, it had stopped ticking many years prior because they were sitting without work. People in industries such as mining were still saying we're getting such low increases that it doesn't make any material difference when you get to the till. So surely something's got to give at some point.
Well, I agree with you that the unemployment rate went very high, and that not more jobs were created. And so that is why during the State of the Nation address, the President made it very clear he's going to make it much more easier for investors who come into the country to invest in the economy. He made it very clear that government does not create jobs. Government does not create jobs. It's private sector that creates more jobs in the country. That is why he said certain laws will be relaxed so that the investors come into the country, invest in the country. But when there's violence in the country, when there's no security, especially amongst people in the country. We admit that there's no security. Our people are very defenseless. The investors won't come in. Now we have to deal with those socio-economic issues. We have to deal with the question of Eskom. You know, no investor will come into the country when there's no reliable electricity, because you need reliable electricity. That is why the government allowed that the private sector should come in and provide an alternative source of energy into the country so that we have the economy that will tick. The government has relaxed a lot of laws that were not favorable to the private investors. And
very
so it's
Pardon me, very briefly, because we do have to move on to another item, Mr. Zikalala. Just a final question, because you mentioned the unrest in July. When you look at that, some people say internal ANC battles also fueled the extent to which KZN was destroyed and parts of Gauteng. When you look at SOEs such as Eskom, which you also referenced, there too there are ANC names mentioned in the hollowing out of SOEs such as Eskom. So what do you think the ANC should take responsibility for the poor state of the quality of life for the poor and working class today?
Well, the ANC has admitted that we allowed the state to be looted by the Guptas. We admitted that. That is why the African National Congress that agreed when there were recommendations by the previous protector, Thuli Madonsela, that there should be a state capture commission. We agreed on that, and also we appealed to all members of the African National Congress to appear in front of the Zondo Commission, which they've done. And so what is going to happen now is up to the law enforcement agencies to follow all those individuals who are being named in state capture, who have benefited from looting. They must face the might of the law. That's what we are saying as the African National Congress.
But do you then, final question, concede that the ANC in all of this is not a pure victim of circumstance of things completely out of its control?
Well, not really. Not really out of control. We do admit that certain individuals who joined the African National Congress not to serve the ANC, but to serve themselves. And so that is why the African National Congress, as the Veterans League, we have put up a document that every individual who's a member of the African National Congress must be screened. We should know that exactly, do you abide by the rules and regulations of the African National Congress? Are you committed to the values and the principles of the African National Congress? If not, we have the right to say, sorry, you can't be a member of this organization, because people have taken advantage of the African National Congress. They joined the ANC only to loot, only to look after themselves, not after the society that elected them.
Snuki Zikalala, thank you for your time, sir, leader of the ANC Veterans League.